Good evening to everyone. Welcome to Bistro Season 2 Conversations with Sutapa Basu, the talk show hosted on my Facebook page. The link is www.facebook.com/SUTAPABSU20. Bistro is all about buzzing. We talk about art, we talk about culture, we talk about entertainment, books, poetry, or we just exchange random reflections. Basically, it's an interaction between you and me. Bistro also hosts a lot of inspirational guests who are from different fields of knowledge and who give us a lot of food for thought. So the table at Bistro is always heaped with fine cuisine. You're welcome to walk in, listen to it, speak about it, argue about it, or just enjoy it. Look out for the space at Bistro at 6:30 p.m. And now, let's welcome our next guest to Bistro Conversations with Sutapa Basu, Season 2. Vish Dhamija. Here is Vish. Welcome to Bistro and thank you
so
for
much.
making time for it.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, especially since there is a lot of time difference between London and Delhi. So thank you for being here. So let me tell you a little bit about Vish. So Vish Dhamija is a London-based author of 11 crime fiction novels and is frequently quoted in the Indian press as the master of crime and courtroom drama and India's best page turner. He is responsible for stimulating the legal fiction genre in India and is the only author of Indian origin listed among major legal thriller series writers of the world. Some of his books, out of his 11 fiction novels, they are all thrillers, and some of the titles are Nothing Lasts Forever or The Haste Artist. Out of these 11 novels, 4 are legal thrillers. The latest being Cold Justice, and I'm sure there will be lots more to come. A major production house has acquired the rights to Vish's renowned Rita Ferreira series for adaptation into a multi-season premium original digital series. Wow. The books of this series are Bhindi Bazaar, Dusra, and Lipstick. Dhamija grew up in Ajmer, Rajasthan, and holds a BCom degree. He began to study law, but decided to change tracks to a degree in management. He took an MBA in marketing and strategy from Manchester Business School in the UK. Prior to his successful career as a published author, Vish worked in marketing and retailing for over 2 decades for global brands like Ford, Kodak, and the United Colors of Benetton. Vish is also a public speaker and speaks on branding, positioning in life, success, and failure. He challenges people to move out of their comfort zone without fearing failure. He has a very interesting way of telling stories that compels his listeners to interact as well as react. Recently, Vish has begun a third career by acquiring a nursery school that he runs. Vish is also an avid traveler, loves cooking, is a model car collector, and a voracious reader. He lives in London with his wife, Nidhi. So that is Vish for you. Wears so many hats and has 3 careers. Wow, Vish. So now let's quickly begin our conversation.
Thank you for having me, Sutapa.
Thank you for being there. Now, Vish, you've been a very successful writer alongside a career in marketing and retailing with corporate brands. Writing is known to be a solitary pursuit. Was it a kind of foil to marketing, which needs a lot of people interface? Did writing offer you that reflective mind space that you needed?
Well, it is and it isn't a solitary profession, because even though the thoughts and ideas occur when you are on your own, when you begin writing, you also take all the influences, all the people you've met. I'm not saying you take someone and then put them into
Vish, can you be a little louder? Can you be a little louder? A little louder.
I said I know it is. It is. Is it better? It is a
Yeah, this is my
solitary and also not a solitary. So okay, when you do your typing and you're clacking your keyboard and putting the words into the manuscript, it is quite lonely. However, you draw upon experiences, you draw upon your interactions, the people that you meet, the society that you live in, and as a writer, you bring it all together. So it's your experiences, it's your interaction with people, it's your relationships that ultimate. I mean, you as an author know, you do not make characters out of the blue. You make characters of people you've met. As writers, you observe more than other people, or maybe in some corner of your head, when you observe certain things, you store them somewhere, which come out when you're describing a character. And I think that is where it is lonely when you type, but once you finish the manuscript, including the edits to the proofreading. I have people who do that, your beta readers, and everything. It is a combined activity, and then it goes to my agent, and therefore we kind of club together and decide what works for this story or what doesn't work for that story. Then it goes to publishing, and then the publisher has their view, and it's there's part of it which is solitary, but the rest is still a very very group activity, if you will. Does it make sense?
So basically, it's really a reflection of life as it is.
It is because you can't otherwise it will be totally fantastical in a fantasy world. You have
True.
to in crime fiction, the genre that I write, it doesn't have to be real, but it has to be realistic, that
Yeah.
it can
Bring-
happen. It might not
yeah,
have
and
happened today.
brings
In
in the authenticity. Basically, it brings that
exactly,
authentic note into the
mm,
story. It makes
mm.
a reader also identify with your protagonist. So it's
Exactly,
important
and the
that you.
places and the
Yeah,
places and the characters and what can probably happen. That's the whole idea.
absolutely. So you have written 11 thrillers, out of which four are legal thrillers. Now, media has fated you as the master of crime and courtroom drama. A lot of writers opt to write crime fiction, but you chose the legal landscape to set your legal crime thrillers. What made you choose legal crime?
So two things. One is I did go out to do a law degree, complete a law degree, and I don't know. We are, I would say, similar in the age bracket, and there was a time in India when people went into law, which was just past the postgraduate, is just to hang around in the university. So they could be because they were looking for more for jobs, or they were looking for a career in politics, or just wanted to hang around in the university. So law wasn't at that point taken really seriously, which is sad. Now today we have law schools, and uncle after uncle would come and ask, "Beta, kya kar rahe ho?" I'm studying law, and the next question would be, "Law to kar rahe ho, fir kya karoge?" So it wasn't considered a serious profession. And honestly speaking, we do talk about nepotism in films, and we talk about nepotism in politics. But honestly, even in law, if you weren't a pedigreed lawyer, or you kind of cracked a big case, you were just one of the many. So it was a kind of a wall to break through. And at some point, somebody suggested there's something which is, gets you. At that point, it was to get the job, get to the next ladder. And I kind of, in my youth and I just jumped onto MBA bandwagon, got a corporate job. But the fact that I did not complete law kept troubling me for a very long time to come. And it was, I would say it was a regret. And in very cases, instances, destiny never gives you a second chance to make good of the past regret. In my case, obviously, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would go and study law all over again from wherever university, wherever the world allows. But my way of kind of coming back to law was writing legal thrillers. That was one. And secondly, it is one of the genres which is kind of somehow very American oriented. So even in the English speaking world, if you include England and New Zealand and Australia and Canada, you wouldn't find many legal thriller writers. I don't know why the genre is kind of American centered, and it is. I mean, not because John Grisham, which is obviously the god of legal thrillers today, not only because he wrote and we read. If you look at a courtroom, it has space for audience. What does it tell you? You don't go to a doctor with the audience. You go to a courtroom because there's audience, which means people like to watch the proceedings. And if people actually turn up to watch somebody's proceedings, how interesting it would be if it was a thriller. Now, it could be a film, a OTT, or a book, but the story lends itself to telling. So that's how I got to legal thrillers. It's one of
In
the
fact,
sub-genres
yeah,
of crime fiction in any case.
my favorite, thriller when I was a teenager were the Perry Mason thrillers, which are
Exactly.
completely courtroom based. Absolutely, Ernest Candler. I loved his books. So yeah, of course, there is a. I mean, it would be really interesting if people knew what went behind the courtroom. That's what, Not only are they the audience in the courtroom, but they would know what went behind it all. Excellent.
Exactly.
I agree. I can't agree more with you.
Thank
Now, in your thrillers, which is more important? Is it character or the plot?
you. I'm sure we are of the same. मैं बार बार बोल रहा हूँ अगर आप बुरा ना माने तो we are
I
of the
still
same.
want to learn from you. I still want to learn from you.
मेरे से कोई कुछ नहीं सीख पाया. Let's be honest. We are of the same generation. You remember a movie, a film called Sholay?
Yes.
Yes. Have you? You would not forget even Dhanno was the horse. So I think, I personally believe, and I've got into debates with other authors, I think it's the characters which tell the story. So once you have made a lifelike character, once the characterization is drawn and everything is done, then the story comes in. So you need to have the right character. So obviously the story makes sense. I'm not saying you could have the best characters and not do anything with it. And the reverse is also true. You can have the best story that you can think of, but if the audience, now it could be readers or the viewers, when I say it's a story, if the audience does not relate to the character, everything is just a wash, because you would come to them, you would like the story, may not like the story, and you would forget it after a period of time. I'm sure you've read Lee Child. You've forgotten every story of Jack Reacher, but you can't forget Jack Reacher. So the character, in my mind, is of prime importance first and foremost, and the story becomes secondary, because once you have a character, you know what a character can do and what a character cannot do. It is very important for every author or every person who creates a character to not go beyond the brief. It's very important to know what the character cannot do and should not be doing once you kind of planted her or him into the story. So I think characterization is very important, and
I
especially if you plan to continue the series. So maybe even if it's for the second book, you need to kind of play the story arc. The character arc needs to be broader than just the story.
So your Rita Ferreira series proves that. And here's what Harshali also says.
Hi,
So she
Ashali.
says, characters make the story shine.
Oh, Harshali. Oh, yes, correct. Yes, Harshali. How are you? I know Harshali.
Okay. So the next one. Now, you as a public speaker, you feel people should step out of the box without fearing failure. Can you tell us, elaborate on this idea?
So, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? You'd go out of the box, and it's the fear of failure that keeps us back. So, can I do this? What will the people think? What if I fail? And that is what stops most of the people. And throughout my life, I have done things which people at the time thought, how stupid can someone be, that I actually gave up a career in India, dropped everything else, and came to do an MBA in the UK. And then people thought, why would you do that? I was head of retail for Kodak Express chain of stores. But you had to jump that gun, otherwise you'd always be there. After completing MBA, I did a corporate job, and then at some point I started writing, which was a fluke. I'm an accidental writer, as I tell someone. And then I decided, no, this once you get bored of something, okay, let me take a step back. You know what are the two most biggest addictions known to mankind? One is heroin, and the other is your monthly salary.
The other is, I'm sorry,
Your monthly salary.
the monthly salary.
And
Yes.
that is what stops people from doing a lot of stuff, because it you get used to the monthly paycheck at the end of your month, and that is what you think is. And there was a time where people joined, say, Life Corporation of India, LIC of India, and then they retired from there. But what you have to understand is the lifespan, which used to be 55, 60 for people when they retired, and another year or two, the lifespan has gone to 90. We all will have to play different roles in the same life if we want to exist and carry on. And that is what I tell people, that at 60, life doesn't end. You have to look forward to, because if you have to live to 90 and you stop working at 60, you will rust for the next 30 years. So you need to find something, a hobby, an occupation. For me, retirement is when you do not have to work for money anymore. But do not in any sphere of life think the retirement means you don't do anything. The moment you stop doing anything, you rust and you wilt and you die. And it might sound very horrible, but that is how the life runs. You have to keep the brain working, and you have to physically work, even if it means getting up at 65 every morning and going for golf for 4 hours. You have to keep occupied. So occupation doesn't necessarily mean money, making more money and adding another television in your home. But the point is, do not, thank you actually, do not stop working. Stop working for money if you don't need anymore. But don't stop working, is what I always tell people.
I so agree with you on this completely. Like you said, we have the same generation, and I cannot believe that I'm not going to do anything at all. I just cannot do that. In fact, even for my writing, I actually dropped a very cushy corporate job, just dropped everything and decided that let me try out,
Mm.
writing. And people told me I'm mad completely. My family was totally against it. But then, well, I did it, and then it went on, and I think it's given me a lot of satisfaction, if nothing else.
See, look, see, people do not, and I'm not judging anyone. लोगों ने तो क्राइस्ट को भी पत्थर मारे थे. तो वो तो, this will happen. Whenever you come up with something which is against the norm, you will stand out like a sore thumb, and people will think क्या पागलपन है. And it may be, and you do 3 things, 10 things, you'll fail in 5. Fair enough. But that fear of failing in the 5 should not stop you from doing the other 5 which your heart wants to do, because exactly, you have one life, and it's a long life. I mean, you don't know, I mean, how things will pan out, but agar lifespan 90 ho gaya hai, so I can't sit here and twiddle thumbs and after a job and retire and then do what? So I think that is what I want to tell people, ki you need to be ready to do something else. And that something else could be anything, whatever your heart desires. Nobody should be telling you what you do, is what I tell people.
And now you are running a nursery school. So this is so different from marketing or writing criteria. Can you tell me something that you're taking away from this experience with, dealing with tiny tots, maybe their parents as well?
I mean, if I when they come back in, if I open the door, each one will come in to do a high five, and that is the lovely part of it. No, I so when I was really sick of my corporate job, or
Hmm.
I actually decided I will sit and write, and then I got bored, being honest. And a friend suggested, I mean, I asked, "Ki kya karu?" So he said, look at a nursery school. And I saw about 50 of these. And I really liked this. This is about 60 miles from where I live. It's an hour and 5 minute drive. But the happiness I get of getting here and being with younger ones, and this is something again which is a learning which I didn't know. The more you interact with people much younger than you, the younger you feel, because you sense that happiness is not what you were seeking all along. It is happiness in little things. Ki toy kho gaya, mil gaya, and that is happiness. And the way you kind of, I go down on my knees to get to the size, you realize the little things of innocent happiness that we, as we grow up, we lose. We don't realize happiness in what is seemingly irrelevant or very small. But happiness is not something you look for. Happiness is in little moments, happiness is in little interactions, happiness is in losing and finding something else. So I think it's a very, very positive experience that I've had. And I cannot think of leaving fledglings because we went through very troubled times. I took over in December of 19, then COVID happened, and we got into a financial crisis because of the world went into a crisis, and we got saved by the government, and now we kind of come back again. And this year obviously looks good commercially as well. But as I was talking to someone and saying, it's no longer about money. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I take home because it might have started as a business thing about making money and detached, but now I am so involved that I don't seriously, money is, hi Sunita, it's no longer the be all and end all. So this is not for, I'm not saying we don't want profits, but profit is not the be all and end all. You mean profit to keep the business running, which is part of how business is done. But I don't run after money. I the balance is very clear in manager. We get special needs children. If no other nursery is taking them, we will take them because we are here for the community, because we will do it, because we are here for it. There is a limit to how much you can stretch the people. However, if need be, if no one else is taking the child, and the child, and it's no fault of child or parents if you're born with some inability or different abilities, we must accommodate as far as we can because that's what we are here for. So it's not no longer about money. Even if it makes a little financial dent, we'll make it somewhere else. But let's not run after money. And people, you know, I don't know. It's a very. I'm just getting a bit more. So when we started life, we wanted that bigger television, we wanted that bigger car, and we chased that car, and we chased that money, and we chased that bank balance. At some point, for some people, when they acquire everything, it's no longer a chase for anything. They've fallen in love with the chase. They'll keep chasing like a dog and a bone, and they don't realize that the chase was over ages ago. So people fall in, and everybody likes money. You need money for your bigger television. I need money for something else. People you meet have fallen in love with just money itself. So they just want more of it without understanding what it can do or how it can help them. So money is for, I need money for time and space so I can travel, I can do. Not for another Cartier or another Tag Heuer or another television, but it's something which it is the way it is. Sorry, I went off the topic. I
No,
shut
your
up.
passion comes through, Vish, and wow, I really like it. I mean, I have also worked with children, and I totally agree with it with you. Children teach you what is really valuable in life, and
Exactly.
it's not. I do
Well,
completely agree.
they teach you not many things are worth anything. We just make mountains out of molehills and think that that is more important. No, it is not.
True, true. Now, the pandemic, you just spoke about that. It also hit the publishing industry and pretty badly in India. How did your book sell? Did they sell well in the UK as compared to India?
So my books are generally, as you would know, published in India, and therefore the biggest market is the Indian subcontinent.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
during the pandemic, and surprisingly, one of the American publishers came forward. They called Blackstone, and they bought five of my books for audiobooks. Now I understand. I don't know. I'm not an audio big book market, but I'm sure a younger generation is. So they published five of them in the US, which is for rest of the world besides India because Indian rights were sold already. We have got a French agent. I don't know when the translations will happen. We've got somebody talking to us from Finland, so they might get translated in French and Finnish. But otherwise, in India, yes, which is a surprisingly, so. Okay, let's do this. All this while, all my friends said, or anyone I know, that they don't read books because they don't have time.
Ah.
And now with the pandemic, they had all the time in the world and they
Mm.
still did not read a book. So, which means book reading habits are on the decline. And I can't blame them with the tablet, your kid, your iPad, and your apps, and your Wordle, and your Netflix, and your Amazon. So, yes, book reading in India is particularly on a decline. I remember when I was in school, again, going back to when you were in school, we used to have a library period once a week. I don't know if our schools have it. So we were made to go to the library, search the books, look for books. Some of us were kind of on duty to kind of arrange the books. We used to
Mm.
borrow books, read them, give them back. There used to be a period where the teacher or whoever was the facilitator would come and ask, what did you read? What did you like? So it wasn't just taking the book and giving it back. I think that inculcating the habit of reading, I don't know if it still exists in school, which it must, because reading, now I don't care if you read on Kindle or you listen to audiobooks, but unless you grasp what others, whether it's fiction, non-fiction, whatever, others have to tell you, there is no way you will know or experience or understand more beyond your sphere. Because mohalle ki baat mohalle ki hoti hai. When you read a book, you go beyond of someone who's in someone somewhere else tells you about it. So reading as a habit has been on the decline in India, but I keep my fingers crossed that it will go up. There are a lot more readers, so I can see, when you're on social media, you realize that people are passionate about reading. But abhi bhi, given that we control 1 point, sorry, 20% of world population, our reading numbers do not justify that. And even if you take 20% of the world, may say at least 50% can read. And it doesn't matter which language you read. Reading still small percentage in India, which is sad. My only optimism is that if it's so low, it can only go up.
This is something that Sunita is saying. So,
Yeah. See, Sunita ji मेरी उम्र की लग रही है.
yeah,
हाँ
yeah,
तो this was part of education. So education
absolutely.
isn't just about कि किताब पढ़ ली, घोटा लगा लिया और जाके आंसर दे दिया.
Hmm.
Education is about understanding. So you would have, so हमारे जमाने में there was no analysis on cinema. That should also be part of education, because it is so everywhere that unless good from the bad, and I'm not saying which is good and which is bad, but understanding good and bad so that you can use your brain to kind of come up with that. So reading used to be put into the syllabus, not syllabus, but curriculum में होती थी. जैसे wood craft होता था, जैसे metal craft होता था. Library reading also was part of the education, and physical education is also education. And we shouldn't, at any point anywhere in the world, should give up on those little which look like, ये हो जाएगा तो ठीक है, नहीं है. It is very much a part of learning. So that is what I propagate.
So you just said that people are distracted by all the digital, distractions. Now, and your Rita Ferreira series is also being adapted for the digital screen. Do you think that writers today are becoming too focused on writing stories that can be adapted for the screen rather than stories that trigger meditative reflection in readers? Do you think
So
that is happening?
any story can be adapted to screen. उसके लिए you don't have to write a book specifically to attract the screen. If the story if the characters and the story
Hmm.
are well sketched enough, well described enough, then it can lend to screen. You don't have to. मैंने कभी रीटा फरेरा जब लिखी थी तो सोचा नहीं था कि स्क्रीन पे जाएगी. That was not my purpose. Writing is a different. अब वो see, all cinema needs story, whether it's OTT. When I say cinema, I mean any visual thing needs a story. So आप अपनी story लिखो. And I'll tell you the truth. I was in Bangalore at one of the festivals. जो you might know Shiny दीदी हैं अपनी.
Yeah.
हाँ तो शाइनी वाला जो Bangalore Lit Fest था,
Hmm.
and they had actually kept a session for younger authors, first time authors, debut authors who've written something to come and pitch. And there were a few literary agents, there were a few publishers there. So because I had a free space, I also went and sat. And it's unbelievable कि there are people who are 19-year-old who want to write, and then वो एक आध ना ऐसे हो जाता है कि ये author है, इनसे मिल लो. So the first question he asks कि कितने कमा लेते हो? And that is a wrong approach. The moment you start, and I actually told him, I said, if you really want to make money, I can tell you 20 professions which will pay you better than an author. But you decide what you want to do. If your goal is money, not everyone becomes J.K. Rowling. तो आप भूल जाओ, वो होगा तो बहुत अच्छी. But if that is the first, that is how you look at it, this is not the profession for you. If all you want is to write for cinema, then go and write screenplays. Do not write books. So they are different. Sorry, मैं बंद कर देता हूँ. So there are different things, and this is what people need to understand. I do not write for screen. I write stories if they are adapted. And I think every story, well written, is adaptable. Now, it is up to the producer, director, whatever house, to see if it is commercially viable. Now, how will you write a commercially viable story? वो तो अगर commercially viable नहीं है तो book भी नहीं बननी चाहिए, because if the publisher doesn't see commercial value at the end of it, you might have written the next Bible. पर नहीं बिकेगी तो नहीं बिकेगी ना. तो I think that's a wrong approach. That if people are thinking, if you want to write for cinema, go and write scripts or screenplay or whatever.
So this is what Sunita says. She came back and bought all your books to read.
अरे वाह.
And here's what Harshali is saying, and we are going to come up with the next thing, what is brewing. So tell us something about your latest legal crime fiction, which is Cold Justice.
So Cold Justice is kind of it is part of the series. The first part was Unlawful Justice, and I brought the same characters ahead. So I don't know kitno ne padhi, but let me up to kitab aa gayi hai. So as Unlawful Justice end, and Akash Hingurani, who's shown as the best defense lawyer in Delhi or whatever, as he walks out of the court, he seems to have fallen in love with the judge in the court case. And Cold Justice begins about 3-4 years later, after he's had an affair with the judge and broken off because of professional reasons. You can't, judge and defense lawyer can't date or whatever. And he gets a call from the judge as he's traveling that she is accused of murder in the first degree and caught on site with a murder weapon in her hand. And that is how he kind of goes back to defend her in the court of law. Now, whether she is guilty, whether she is not guilty, whether she will win, whether she will lose, is the mystery, and that moves on. And I have used certain loopholes in the law where and there is, I'll be open about it. There is this legal loophole around the world, and I found an old case in India also to kind of put it, that if the prosecution asks you to be the witness in a court case, then you should kind of go away and not be a defense lawyer, because as a prosecution, if I want you as the witness, then you can't be the lawyer for the defense. So there is this prosecution, the trump that prosecution plays, and throws Akash Hingorani out of the case. They want him as the witness, which is basically flimsy, but the law is the law, and therefore it gets more muddied, and the prosecution kind of gets heavy, and that is the story of and legally, and legal case is always within the bounds of the law, so you can't just go around and not do, because there's this judge who's the umpire. So there are two IPL teams. You always, and I always explain legal proceedings is, you have both teams, both have 11 players, so you have the same witnesses, you have players which you have the same field settings, you have the same number of overs, and you have the same number of evidence. It's who plays better on that day, and the umpire is the judge, and the judge decides based on your story versus my story which story is better. That's how
and how he is more eloquent. who is more eloquent and
Who's
able to
more
sort of
eloquent?
convince.
Who presents the point better? It's not the guilty who lose the case. It's the best lawyer who wins the case around the world.
Great, and I think this book is going to be really, really intriguing. I have already ordered it. It needs to come to me. So, and then I'm going to be talking about it more.
10 बार
Lovely.
कॉपी कर लो, 10 बार कॉपी ऑर्डर कर लो. नहीं, I'm
No,
just kidding.
and we will also wait when this is made into a series, into a digital series, because
Inshallah.
I'm sure it will be with the
वो तो
same character which is going through, just like the Rita Farira.
I hope.
Now, I think we'll have to wrap this up, Vish. Though I would have loved to, you know, talk to you more, chat with you more, and so would our audience. So I will just open it for audience questions. Are there any questions that you want to ask, audience?
अच्छा है, कोई नहीं है क्वेश्चन पूछने वाला. मैं बहुत डर लगता है
Nothing
ऐसे.
is coming up. So, okay. So we'll have to wrap this up. Vish, thank you so much for being on Bistro Buzz. And I think we will have to bring you back because there's so much that, we would like to talk to you about.
Thank you, thank you for having me.
Lovely.
Thank you
So
for having me.
let's meet again, I would say.
Thank you
Right?
so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being there.
Bye-bye.
And a good night and a good evening to everybody
अभी
else.
तो
Thank you.
आफ्टरनून बाकी है. चलिए.
And good evening. That's why to UK, and
Yeah.
good night to all the others here. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. Thank you.
Okay.